Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by the membership for candle makers, the Candle Makers Collective. Becoming a member gives you access to fortnightly online group Q&A coaching sessions to support you, monthly online workshops and trainings to help you grow your business, plus frequent expert guest speakers to inspire and teach you. You'll also have access to an ever-growing resource library with templates, guides, planners, and ebooks. But my favorite aspect of the membership is our exclusive Facebook group for accountability, connection and support. So if you're looking to take your candle business to the next level and learn more about the membership for candle makers, click the link in the show notes for the Candle Makers Collective. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have another candle maker conversation, this time with the beautiful Kate from Weave Grace Candlelight Co. Now, Kate, would you like to say hello to the listeners and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Kate from Weave Grace Candlelight Co, and I'm a mum of two little boys, and I make candles.
I love that you prioritize both being a mum and also making candles and doing something for yourself, which is is so important to have that variety in your day or an evening, because as I said before you record, like, we love our children very, very much, but it's nice to have something away from them so that we get a chance to miss them and then come back to them the next day. Yeah. So I would love to hear your origin story. How did you get started with candle making?
So I think I was thinking about this today. My first memory of candles in general goes back actually because I had a Steiner education growing up from kindergarten to year 10, and so they mine in particular worked a lot with beeswax, just like in crayons, like you do a lot of drawing and, you do modeling with beeswax. And also I remember we do so every season they do like a festival to celebrate the seasons changing. And so we actually, for the winter festival, I remember them having like heated up pots of coloured beeswax and then cold water pots, and so you dip like a long piece of wick straight into the wax and then into cold water and then into the next colour and then cold water and into the next colour. And I just remember doing that from a really young age, and we got to cut like the end of it, and it was like making a pillar candle, but we were like 5 or 7 or something like that. So it was like this really cool experience, and I think my mum's probably still got one somewhere. But so that was like my first introduction, I think, to candle making. And then I, you get given candles a lot just as like little gifts. And I'd never been able to figure out how to burn one correctly. Like I didn't even know that was a thing, that there's a way to burn a candle other than just lighting it. And wouldn't have known to like trim wicks or anything. And then I remember like as an adult, so I'm 29, probably 26 or so, like getting interested in doing it, like trying it out. And then I started watching videos online, and I think I was watching, can I say business name?
Yeah, of course.
Other candle. Yeah. I think I was watching, who was it? Like Jeff Stanley and is it Erica Marie Morris, like their
Memory
videos?
Box Candle Co. Yes.
Yeah. And getting like really interested in like the science behind it. And I always had like a bit of a scientific mind and was really interested in like the rate of consumption, how wax like fuels the way a candle burns, and like getting into that sort. So I started making a bit just out of curiosity. And then for me, in 2020, I had my first baby, and he, at 19 weeks old, he was diagnosed with cancer, which was like a whole huge hurdle that I had to face as a first-time mum. And so I revisited that in my time at home as like a outlet, which was huge. But like, so my that was my me time then, practicing making candles.
I think it's really important to note that when we find something of our own to immerse ourselves in, it can be a way to escape whatever else is happening in our lives at the time. And when you find something that brings you so much joy, which you can then turn into a business and bring income in from it, it just takes it to a whole new level. So the fact that you were able to start your journey really when you were 5 years old, learning how to make dipped candles, to then being driven by the passion of the chemistry and the science behind making candles, to then going through your experience as a first-time mum, but continuing that path for your own mental health and sanity, I think is truly incredible.
Yeah, I think and for me, I always say, when I make, they're made with mindfulness, because I feel like when you're making, you're engaging all your senses, like your sense of smell, your touch, like you're feeling the heat. You're looking at the changes in the state the wax is in, like it comes in a solid and then it's turning into a liquid. And then there's also that added factor where you're completing something, and at the end of it, you have this whole product that you can say that you've made with your own two hands. And there's something really, I don't know, you feel accomplished in that.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a reward, a personal reward, to not only create the product, but then when you're able to take it that step further and then sell it to someone who can then enjoy the product. It fills you with so much pride, because you know how much effort has gone into making that product or in making that candle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So your company or your business is called Weave Grace Candlelight Co. Where did the name come from? Why is that significant to you?
So it was funny. My friend she calls herself my manager, because me and her, when we get talking, she gives me lots of good ideas. And we were just throwing things around, and my middle name is Grace, and my partner's surname is Weaver, and my little boy's surnames are Weaver. So then I didn't want it to be our surname, and then I don't know, she's like, what about Weave and Grace? And I was like, oh, I really, really like that. And then I've gone on to name her business. It's been nice. It's done like a little swap.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's paying homage to not only yourself, but also your children's surname, as well as your yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
So when you first started your business, or rather I should say, when did you first make the decision to turn your candle making into a business?
So I think for me, when I was having those moments where I was at home from hospital with my son, we'd be home for a maximum of 6 days before he'd be admitted. And I think my partner's grandmother is super into candles, and she was like, oh, I'll give you some money, kind of thing. And then I had a lot of people saying, you should do some for Archer, like my son. And because both, we had to take a significant time off work. Like my partner had to take time off work, and I was still on maternity leave. And so our bills just everything just halted for us, because we had to prioritize our son. And it wasn't something you are expecting to happen. I think no one's ever expecting a child to have a diagnosis like that. So it was just the situation where all of a sudden we had no money, and I was making these things and people wanted them. And so I did a candle that was for sarcoma awareness for my son, and it said Weave Grace Candlelight Co, Archer's Battle, and that had a pediatric cancer ribbon, the gold ribbon on it. And so I just started selling them, and amazingly people supported me through that. And so that's how it kind of started. But then, so a year later, when my son amazingly finished treatment and was classed as in remission, the day he finished treatment, I found out I was pregnant with my second son. And
wow.
So that was huge. So he's my little marker of where we've been and how far we've come.
Yeah.
And so through both my pregnancies, I had really bad hyperemesis gravidarum. So I was vomiting a lot. I couldn't keep food down, and strong smells were really hard for me. And it lasted all the way through my pregnancy, even through labor, and then stopped as soon as they were both born. But so it was quite horrendous. A contraction and a vomit at the same time is pure hell, I can tell you that.
Oh,
Um
oh, poor thing. That sounds
yeah.
awful.
It was pretty fantastic. But I ended up stopping through my second pregnancy with my son. So I didn't do any making through that pregnancy, and I had him in March 2022. So then after that, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn to deal with, so I just didn't focus on it too much. And then I got back into podcasts and I heard you.
Yay.
So that's what kind of drove me to get back into it, because I had really put it on the back burner, but my garage was full of so much stuff. And it just sat there as like a reminder, this is what you've got to get back to.
Yes, yes, that hanging over guilt almost of thinking I've invested time and energy and money into this business or this craft, and then it's just sitting there gathering dust, and it's not a nice feeling.
I had so many fragrance oils sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so much money just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love how it's always still been in the back of your mind. It wasn't that you, how do I phrase it? It's like you didn't give up. You just parked the car for a little while as your body and your family needed you for different reasons.
I feel like, though, part of me did feel a little bit like maybe people thought that it was just something that I was like, that was a little phase. But in my
Mm,
mind, I'm still like watching videos on candle making and
yes,
still part of the groups, commenting on stuff, giving advice and
yes,
reading stuff the whole time. Like in my mind, I'm still very much there, but
yes,
I had to just stop.
yes,
Um, but it's been good. I think what I think then has pushed me forward is, I guess, finding you, which is funny finding you, because I was listening to another podcast called, I think it was the Candle Guys or the Candle Maker Guys or something, which was in America, and I was just thinking, I wish there was a podcast from Australian makers that use like our suppliers
yes.
and use our businesses. And I just put into the podcast app Australian candle making, and it came up.
Amazing. Oh, I love that
I
the
know. So I
tags are
can't remember.
working.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's really good. That that's great.
And you came along when the podcast just started pretty much as well.
Yeah, I think
So
it was in the first couple of weeks.
yeah, so we've been on this journey together for a little while now, and you and I have been chatting quite a lot on Instagram and now in my new Facebook group. So I feel like I've known you for so long, and hearing your journey and watching you grow and develop over the last 7 or 8 months has been amazing. And I love how you've taken your business to the next level and you've brought in apparel.
No. I haven't. I haven't brought in apparel. I've brought in a uniform for markets. I
A
did get a
uniform,
message.
okay.
I got for a uniform, like a shirt that just has branding on it for
Yeah,
markets.
yeah.
But that was funny because I did have a friend message me saying, I need one of those hoodies. And I'm like, no, they're for me. They're not for anyone else.
You'll have a whole nother side business on selling clothing that
Nice
has the
that people
branding.
wanted to have something with my branding on it. That was a really
That's
nice compliment.
amazing. That
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's because the logo that you have and even the font that you've chosen and the design of the brand, like the brand image that you've got is so beautiful. It's very elegant, it's classy, but it's minimalistic as well in the best possible way. And I think having been on the sidelines as you've gone through that journey of getting the logos and the labels and all of that process done with one of our good friends, Jess at Long Story Short, is just a testament to how serious you're taking this journey as well, because not everyone, especially a lot of the candle makers I speak to, they don't want to invest in professional branding, which, yes, it's an investment, a financial investment, but you've got to think about what your end customer or your ideal customer is looking at when they see your labels. If they're printed yourself as opposed to professionally printed, there is a difference and it carries a different energy to it as well.
And I think the other thing, like I started out just getting those, like, I don't even know how you describe them, those little craft label tags that you put like twine through and just writing the fragrance on there. That's how I started out. And then I had like a bulk print of just a logo I'd made up using Canva and the name on like a sticker that I'd put on the lid or on the back of it. So like I started out really basic, and then I felt like once I started putting energy into it, and I did see a difference in people that were outsourcing. And I think that that was where my mindset changed, thinking I don't need to do everything in order for this to be successful. Um, and then the way that they work at Long Story Short, they're amazing. Like the amount of time and energy and backwards and forwards, and like they were so patient with me because I was managing a business for someone else, and I'd take weeks to get back to them. And there was just time where I just wasn't in the mindset to sit down and be like, I'm going to do my logo. And I think for them to kind of be patient and work with you for that long, like if you were to put out like however much you pay towards that, and then work out to like, sorry, how do I say that? To break it down, like however many hours they're putting in versus how much you're paying, I feel like you get the better end of the bargain when you're working with them. Like they end up sending you so much stuff, especially with the branding package that I did. And it was more than what I think I bought. They sent me more.
Yeah, they do tend to they give you like little extras in your order, which I think is so sweet and so kind and very clever as well from their end.
And I found also, like I remember seeing a video not long ago of just talking about their point of difference is that they will make sure that files come in. Like if you're taking a file to them that you want them to print, they'll make sure it's print ready. And I had used other businesses before for like a short run of labels that I'd designed myself using Canva, and I didn't know what I was doing. So when I received it, it did have like this white line along the edge of the label.
Oh no!
And I know, but like I wouldn't have known like how to prepare that. But I guess they make sure that everything comes back perfect. And I guess if it's not, they'll check in with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we could talk about how much we both love Jess and the team at Long Story Short for a very long time, because they're the team is so passionate about what they do, and they're excellent at what they do, and they hold your hand during the process as much as you need, depending on sort of where your experience level is and what your skill levels are with design and branding and logos and labels and everything. But if you've got a vision of how you want your labels to look or how you want your brand to feel, and are able to convey that, in words via like an email or a message, they will then turn your vision into reality. And it's just mind-blowing the variations that they can give you to find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, to really dial in to making sure that you're happy with your end product. And their customer service is second to none.
I think the thing that's really important is they're really approachable. Like if you don't understand something, you can just send them an email back and be like, what do you mean? And then they'll break it down for you. And it's just so simple. Like I'm really not tech savvy at all. So it's quite helpful for me.
Yes. So I'd love to know, what's been your biggest win in your business so far?
Probably this.
The podcast?
I never thought I'd be on a podcast, number one. I don't know. I think having people back you has been a win.
It's funny, when we think about our own potential or our own goals, we come up against our own mindset muck or our own hurdles that we have to overcome. But when other people see our vision and we can see our passion, from their perspective onto us, there's no doubt that we'll succeed. It's more just from our own perspective, we need to push through those boundaries and through those hurdles that we come up against. But when you have the support of those around you and they're encouraging you, whether it's friends or family or even customers, when you get those positive reviews or that those testimonials or that feedback to say, you're on the right track, you're doing really well, I love your product, it really does spur you on and it gives you that motivation to keep going.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I recently had like a bit of a fangirl moment the other day because I had, I don't know if you've heard of her, Black Sunflower, Jazz from Black Sunflower.
No.
She's she's a woman of color, American candle maker, and she just went, like, she blew up through the pandemic. And the other day, I'd like must have clicked on one of her live streams and was talking in there while she was doing a candle sale. And she came over to my business page and went through and liked my photos and was commenting. And I'm like, I feel like I've been seen.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's such an awesome feeling when someone that you
Yeah.
admire respects what you do as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. What have been some of the challenges you've faced on your journey so far for your candle making journey?
I think definitely that imposter syndrome. I have moments where I'm like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing?
Mm.
Like, and then I'm like, is this a hobby? Is this a business? And then like having to pull myself in and trust what I'm doing and put my big girl pants on and be like, no, you're going to do this. This is for you. This is all yours.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it takes a lot of trust in yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does. And it's about thinking about how you want to live your life and looking back what you want to have achieved or what you have at least wanted to have attempted. And if you don't give it your all now, and you would know more than anyone, life can change so quickly and
Exactly.
things can be stripped away from you in an instant. So when you have those moments of imposter syndrome or doubt or hesitation, you also have this drive within you to go, no, actually, I am worthy of this. This is important to me. I'm going to continue. I'll learn what I need to learn. I'll grow as I need to grow. And then you just get back on the horse and you just keep making candles.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I had this beautiful moment the other day where I was making candles and my son went and got like a pouring jug and a saucepan and went and put it on his little Kmart toy kitchen and started stirring. And he was
Oh,
copying me, and I'm like, I feel like we've come full circle, you and I, kid. Like,
yeah. Oh, what a
it was
beautiful
really nice.
moment.
Yeah, no, it's really
Yeah.
sweet.
And
But for
it's
me, I
true.
think
Mm.
pursuing this as a business, like, and becoming like a small business owner and working for myself is something that I feel like I need to do since everything I've been through with my son is like, I want to be around my kids. I want them, like, I want to spend the most time with them that I can. Like,
Mhm.
he's my walking gratitude journal, basically. Like, he's my constant
Yeah.
reminder that I'm grateful. So, I don't know. I just want to kind of simplify things a bit. I don't.
Mm.
I also want to leave something for them. You know what I mean? Like, I want
Yeah.
to inspire them that they can do what they want to do if they pursue it, if they put the work in. Um,
Absolutely.
and hopefully they take that from me
Yeah.
working for myself.
Absolutely. They'll see your determination and drive and working through challenges as they come up and not giving up and not giving in to the internal struggles that we have. You're continuing your path because it's so important to you. And as a byproduct, they'll then be inspired to live in their own truth and to search for what's important to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au.
What are your goals for your business? Where do you see yourself in the future?
What long term I would like to do. So I guess what it comes down to is I would like Weave Grace Candlelight Co to not just necessarily be candles, but like anything that's going to relax. Like for me, the way I describe it is my target market is people like me, time poor mums that need to promote the moments they get to relax. And I guess what I'd like for it to be is maybe incorporating stuff to do with bath stuff. I don't know. But like expanding a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe it's eye masks for going to
Ooh.
sleep. Maybe it's a wine glass. maybe it's a bath caddy. I don't know. But
Maybe it's all three.
Exactly. Maybe it's just like a combination of everything. But either way, I feel like the options are limitless.
Yes.
But short term, I'd like to do maybe a couple of little wholesale things. I'm not sure. But long term, I have goals. I don't know if I'll reach them, but it's going to be fun finding out.
Absolutely. And it's the adventure that we go on to try and get to those goals. And the more we grow into who we are as a person, the more we discover what our goals actually are. So even though you might not have full clarity as of right now, it will become clearer as you go down your path.
Yeah.
Where do you find the inner strength and the drive? Where does that come from?
I feel like with my son, I didn't have the option to give up. Like literally you didn't have a choice. You just had to keep taking one step and taking one foot and putting it in front of the other to keep going. There just wasn't an option to say, you know what, today I'm not going to do this. And so I know that I've got that in me to keep doing it. Granted, I don't have the adrenaline I had then because he's coming up on 2 years in remission, but I know that that's still somewhere inside me and I don't want to ever forget that.
Yeah. Do you think, this is probably a question you've probably asked yourself, but do you think that if you and your son hadn't gone through that journey, that inner fire wouldn't have been lit?
I think it's completely changed me as a person. My whole outlook has completely changed on life. So I think the thing is, I feel like I've peaked. So I know, but it's a good peak because I keep holding myself to that standard. Like I know what I'm capable of in a really terrible situation. So I know that I can carry that forward in good situations.
Absolutely. And anything that you face between now and the future, you know that you can always say to yourself, I've been through worse than this, I can handle this, I can get through this. This pales in comparison to what I've been through. I can work through these struggles and get to the other side.
And that's very much my mindset is this isn't a big deal. Look what you've overcome.
Whereas before you may have gotten caught up in those little struggles. Well, not little, but we perceive them to be bigger than they perhaps are. But
100%.
because you've been through so much more that many people will never experience what you've gone through, which is a good thing. But it's also, I can imagine that you would have felt isolated during your journey as well, maybe, or perhaps. Yeah, okay. So, I wasn't sure whether it might have felt more isolating or whether people, came out of the woodwork to support you and to help you through that journey.
Well, I had him March 21st. I think the pandemic had already started. So we were literally going to a hospital that was partially locked down to have him. And then, so 19 weeks on from that was like everything was locked down. The hospital was locked down. And so I think it was he was we say diagnosed because that's the day that you go in and you find out kind of thing. But we didn't actually learn his proper diagnosis till a little bit later. But so the 30th of July, 2020 was when he was diagnosed. And we were talking surgery by the Saturday. So that was the Thursday to the Saturday. And then the following Wednesday, he went under a massive surgery that was basically like, he's going to die if he doesn't have this surgery. And if he has this surgery, there's a high chance that he could still die or be incredibly disabled by the surgery. And then, so by the Wednesday, the surgery ended up being very successful. He didn't have any complications other than a small bleed, which was a massive shock to everyone. But from the day of that surgery, so not even a week later, my partner wasn't allowed to stay in the hospital anymore. So it was me, and I was exclusively breastfeeding my first child. So I essentially went to being a single parent
in the hospital
with a new baby. Like, this is my first child. And then his dad had to walk away. So it was very isolating and we couldn't have family there. And then you're dealing, once he started chemo, with an immune compromised child. and everyone was already worried about COVID. So it's like the risk was even higher.
Yeah.
So it was huge. And then after he finished treatment, he's still immune compromised. So we have to be very protective. So I had to say no to a lot of social situations. And even in some of the situations that, like, going to see friends and stuff that I would have liked to have gone and seen, not everyone was able to put themselves in our position and take it as seriously as we had to. So we would show up somewhere and someone would say, oh, I've come home. I was able to come home today because I had cold and flu symptoms. So they sent me home and they were excited about it. And I'm like, wait, what? You have a runny nose and you didn't tell me? Like, any kind of infection could essentially lead to my child dying.
Yeah.
So it was like that kind of puts a spanner in friendships, and
which further
it's
isolates you
hard.
even more.
Yeah. So I essentially had to prioritize my child through one of the most horrific times in our life, and we're starting now to find our feet again, which is like we're 2 years on. So it's taken a while, and there's like a lot of unpacking to do. And I think as a couple, like, we had two very, very different experiences of it, because he was sent home and I had to be there.
Yeah.
So, relearning, like, having to relearn how to be a couple, I guess, to a child with cancer is also really hard. Sorry, this is a bit.
No, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
I appreciate that that you're in a place now that you're able to talk about it as well. It's a testament to the work that you've done to get to a point where you're able to share this and hopefully, I won't say inspire other people, but I mean that in a good way, in that I want people, like, I want guests on the podcast, I want listeners of the podcast to feel connected to more than what they currently have, like to other people. And if there's anyone listening to this podcast episode and can resonate with what Kate's gone through or has gone through something equally challenging, just know that, as Kate's showing now, like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It does get better. It does take a lot of effort and a lot of work to get to that place, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, 100%. And if anyone is, I hope they're not going through anything like that, feel free to get in touch with me, because I tell you what, you need people in your corner.
Yes, and particularly people that truly understand what you're going through as well, not just the superficial conversations. If you need to go deep, you need to be able to do that in a safe and supportive place.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, it's incredible. Thank you again for sharing your journey and your experience with myself and the listeners. I think it's it's truly incredible to be able to speak to you about this, and I so appreciate you sharing your story.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I'll turn the conversation around a little bit. We'll start to go up into the light, the candlelight.
I like that.
What is your favourite thing about what you do with candles, or making candles?
My favourite thing?
Yeah. Like, it could be...
I think it would be like, as in, do you mean, sorry, like along the process? Like, what's my favourite part of the process?
Anything at all. It could be like, the actual process of making candles, or the fact that you're living out your dreams and inspiring your children. It could be anything like that.
I feel like being able to complete something and hold something that you've made in your hands, that's like a completed thing. That blows my mind.
Yes, so satisfying.
and like it's, I know that there's like a lot of work that goes into it, and like figuring out your fragrance load and all that sort of stuff. But once you've got that all sorted, and the time it takes for you to be holding that is just like really, really fast. So it's like instant gratification almost. Whereas like, say you go to uni and you go and do a 3-year degree, you've got to wait 3 years. You don't have to wait 3 years for your candle to cure. Put the label on or trim the wicks, it's like really satisfying.
Especially when you have like a whole batch of candles and you just go like you have your little wick trimmer and you're like trim, 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 trim.
Oh, isn't it the
Yes.
best?
And the wicks are flying as you're trimming them and they
Oh, I
land in
love
the
it.
other candles and you just think like
Yes.
it's fine,
Yeah.
it's fine,
I
it's gonna
so
be fine.
relate.
I'll
So
just
relate.
heat on the top, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I get a little bit keen sometimes when they're like not quite cooled and I kind of take everything off and just clip them there. I'm like, damn it, I should have waited, but I really wanted the satisfaction.
That is so relatable, Kate. I love that. So I would love to know, how do you define success?
I think happiness.
Mm.
I don't think it's a dollar amount. Yeah, I think it's happiness and being comfortable with where you are, not feeling like you're having to chase something. I think that would be my idea of success.
I love that. I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to because it comes from within rather than picking a random number of income that you want to earn or a random goal that actually doesn't mean anything to you when you really think about what impact you want to make in the world and how you want to serve people or serve your customers. I think it's when you look internal and you really figure out what impact you want to make, I think that's when that gives you that inner drive as well to go after your goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything you'd like to share about your business or anything that you'd like the listeners to know about Weave Grace Candlelight Co?
One of the things that I haven't really spoken a whole lot about in general is that I am doing a fragrance-free line, just as something different. And also I know that I know that there are people out there that just can't do fragrances. And I did do a post the other day about, like how sometimes different smells can be really, really triggering to people. Like for me, my mum had surgery and I went and saw her in the hospital and I pulled the curtain and the curtains, I don't know, I was just freaked out because I know how dirty those hospital curtains can get. So I washed my hands and just using the hospital grade soap reminded me of everything my son had been through, and the smell literally sent me into a massive tailspin and I had to like go for a walk and just like have a moment and be like, we aren't there anymore. We're okay. And just like have this little, because we do suffer from, like me and my partner suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of what our son's been through. So there's like clinical settings and stuff like that are really triggering for us. I hate the word triggering, but it's a thing, unfortunately. And so that just made me like think, smell, like your sense of smell can be a really good thing, or it can be a really like, it puts you in a not okay place. So, but I love candlelight. Like it's not necessarily about the smell. I love the ambience. I love the feeling I get, even if it's like unfragranced tea lights around my bath and I feel like a goddess in the bath.
Yes.
It's like, it's like ritualistic having unfragranced tea lights around your bath. But you can't, like, I can't even go into Woolworths anymore and get fragrance-free tea lights. They're always like vanilla or something.
Sounds like a gap in the market that you're able to fill.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing I'm doing 3. So I've got like I do like large centerpiece candles, and so I'm doing a smaller one that's fragrance-free, and then 2 different colors of these really pretty octagon glass vessels that are really nice, and they're big candles. So I'm hoping that goes well.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And remind me, you're relaunching in July, is that correct?
Yeah, so July 1st at 8 p.m.
Oh, so excited. By the time this episode comes out, you will have already launched. But in the interim, I'm very excited for you and I can't wait to see how the launch goes.
Thank you. I'm nervous. I didn't know what, that was the thing. Like I was like, I'm going to give myself 6 months to do it. So when did I start? I must have said that in January. And I was like, 6 months is a really long time. Like that's maybe too much time to start talking about it. And now it's like June. And I'm like, I don't have enough time.
Yes, where has the last 6 months gone?
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited because I've seen the progression of your like Instagram feed from when you first posted and then talking about the rebrand, or sorry, the relaunch, and seeing your vessels come together and the labels being designed as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful. Like, it's just such a classy and elegant way to elevate the candle experience. And you've totally done, like, you and Long Story Short have totally hit the nail on the head with your branding. So well done.
Thank you.
So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, where I ask all my guests 3 questions relating to candles. The first one is, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
I just had a moment where I was like, I thought I was listening to the podcast.
I know, I kind of go into like automatic mode.
So wait, sorry. What was my favorite
Candle
fragrance?
Yeah.
So I like anything that has like a bit of vanilla in the background. Like I like that, like the warmth that you kind of get from it. So like anything, I'm liking, really liking honeysuckly stuff at the moment. So one of my candles that I do of dreams is like a honeysuckle fragrance, and that I feel like that has a bit of vanilla in it, but I'd have to check. I don't know. I'd have to double check.
Sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful regardless.
Yeah.
Question number 2, what do you love about candles?
I love the ambience that the light creates. That's probably the biggest thing. And just the way that it has the ability to change a mood. Like I said, you can light a candle and you immediately feel like you're a goddess.
With the hundreds of tea lights all around the bathtub as you relax with a glass of wine. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the last question is, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give the other candle makers?
I guess it comes down to if you're just a candle maker, if you're looking to go into business, but I think take your time, probably. Don't go out and buy 500 ml bottles of fragrance oils. Don't shoot me suppliers for saying that, but like, you don't need that much to start testing.
Yes.
I think we all learn that the hard way because we all get really excited.
So excited to buy fragrance oils. It's like one of the most exciting parts.
I know. And I don't
become so expensive. Yeah.
And I don't have any suppliers nearby where I can walk into a showroom and smell them. So it just makes it so much easier to just keep buying them.
Yes.
You have to sniff them.
That's right. Absolutely. And then you look at your cupboard and you're like, wow, I have like over 60 different fragrance oils.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Some of them show up and you really just don't like them. And you're like, why did I buy 500 mils of that? That's insane.
Yep. And then you try and sell it on the buy, swap and sell groups.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Well, Kate, thank you from the bottom of my heart so much for being on the podcast with me and for sharing your story, being vulnerable and being so open, honest, real and raw. I just know that the listeners will have loved the journey that we've gone on through our chat tonight. And if they would like to get in touch with you, where can we find you online?
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Weave Grace Candlelight Co. Or you can get in touch with me via email at weaveandgrace@gmail.com. Or if you're listening and it's past July 1st, you can go to our website, which is weaveandgracecandlelightco.com.au.
Perfect. And it will be amazing to hear the feedback from this episode as well. I love it when the listeners message me and share their takeaways when they've listened to an episode. So if anyone's listening and feels like they want to reach out to Kate or myself, please do so. You can find us both on Instagram because we would love to connect in with you. But thank you again, Kate, for being on the podcast. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.